Hello, family. How are you? This is not planned. This is not planned. I was um, on Facebook for a few minutes. I have gotten ready to go to a cookout with my family, have prepared my salad, and I came. I had a couple of other things to do on the computer, so I decided to just, scroll a little bit and ran into some conversation that was interesting about Independence Day, the 4th of July, whatever you want to call it. Um, and so it made me dig back in some memories. And I started thinking about how we celebrated the 4th of July as I was growing up. And I realized that we never really talked about it as the 4th of July, as a day of independence. It was a time to get together for our family and our family friends. And we always had a cookout. And so I remember that, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to write that." And I had read an article in the Atlantic magazine, and it had shared some history with me that I did not know, and I have shared that in another post. And then I thought, what else do I remember about about the 4th of July for me? So I remember talking in school because whenever I was in school, I would have to, you have reports to do. So at some point, I don't know which year it was, we obviously had to study U.S. history. And so one of the things that I learned was that the first person to fall in the Revolutionary War was a black man named Crispus Attucks, Crispus Attucks. And when I reported that at school, now mind you, by fourth grade, I was in a predominantly white school living in a white neighborhood, and I reported that. People did not want to believe me. So I always had to do research about that, and I learned something at that point in my life that I have carried through to my children. When you have to do a report, if you're black, when you have to do a report, then that's your time to teach. That's your time to talk about your race, your culture, and what your race has done for you and for America. And so I would often do reports about Crispus Attucks, and then that's part of what led to my hunger to learn more and more about what black people did in America. Not that my parents didn't teach me those things, but the schools weren't teaching me. So that meant they weren't teaching anybody else either. At any rate, so I started thinking about my experiences with the 4th of July or Independence Day. And I thought about my experience in church. At the black churches that I attended, the weekend of the 4th of July or the weekend before the 4th of July, we didn't talk about Independence Day. We didn't talk about the 4th of July. We didn't talk about what a great country we lived in and how proud we were to be here. We didn't talk about that. We heard about the same um, messages that we heard about during the year. When I joined or visited white churches, the Sunday of the 4th of July weekend or the Sunday of the week prior to the 4th of July was a big celebration of Independence Day, and there were plays and there were patriotic songs sung, and they talked about what the white man did to create this country. There was never any discussion of what anybody black did, and it would be frustrating. And so I found that I didn't want to go to church when I belonged to white churches that weekend because they didn't talk about my experience. They didn't talk about the people who were slaves, the people who built things, the people whose labor was used to help create the wealth of this country. And they didn't talk about the slaves, and they didn't talk about the free black people who did things to help build this country. And today, I want to say that I don't think I really celebrated the 4th of July. We celebrated a day that my daddy didn't have to work. We celebrated a day that my family could get together and family and friends could spend some time together during the summer. We did not celebrate Independence Day. Yes, we watched fireworks. We didn't go to the fairgrounds to watch them. I remember often because I never knew we could go to the fairgrounds when I was growing up to watch them. And I don't know, that was in the 60s. I don't know that we could go to the fairgrounds to watch the fireworks. If we watched them, we would go sit in a parking lot somewhere or on a street where they could be seen. We did not make our way to places where there were large crowds of people. So I'm digging. I'm digging back in memories. Do we celebrate as black and whites the same thing, the same day, the same holiday? Do we celebrate it the same way? Because do our cultures share the same memories? And as I said, it was so different at the white churches that I was attending from the black churches that I was attending. And I kind of stopped going that Sunday because I didn't want to hear all of that. And that was, that was some racism to me at this point in my life, because my family, my culture, my history, perspective was not shared. So for those of you who are white, who are Christians, who are pastors, think about that when you are planning your Independence Day celebration at church. Think about what you're putting out and be sure you're telling the whole story, because Jesus wants you to tell the whole story, not the part of it that's comfortable, because sometimes being a Christian can make you uncomfortable. And that's because he has to do some change and some work in you. So I just wanted to share that. I was writing it and I thought it doesn't have the same feel on words that it would have if you heard my heart. So just wanted to share that with you today. Have a beautiful day with your family and friends, and I will see you later.